Here? Okay. How are people doing? Let's just check and see how things go. Good morning. We've got some people. Oh, you yawned and your Bluetooth paused. Okay, that is wild. I do not have my I this is what I have for Bluetooth. Um, I don't know why I am so close to the camera. I'm gonna see if is there any way to zoom myself out a little bit. That's so wild. So, like my headphones, there's a pause button back here. I do end up accidentally pausing people's streams sometimes because, like, my wife will ask me a question and I'm often watching videos. So I just like automatically go reach to pause. But then I pause a stream and it's like, I don't want to pause a stream. I want to be like up to date with everybody, even if I've missed stuff. So we're going to jump in and review some things. Let me see. It's just a couple of you here. Oh, and hi, Nemo. Uh, let's see. I'm experimenting with putting my streaming software up here. The biggest thing is like I can't see in real time what my stuff looks like. Is this annoyingly, this does not scale properly to the tiny monitor on the prompter. So I don't know if that's the way I want to do things, but I have chat right here. Okay, so we're gonna have So Dawn and Dusk have VSO. Okay, actually, I want to talk a little bit about. Let me bring up a new document. Some things that came up as I was doing Lexember. So couple of things. I sometimes have issues with pronouncing secondary. Why is my typing so slow? Keyboard is lagging badly. It's still lagging, but I have to deal with that. So, for example, boost my volume a little bit. Um, I have my gain turned all the way up. I don't know why people can't hear me. Testing. Testing. Let's see if I turn on this thing. Do you hear me better? Hi, Madeline. I'm definitely loud to myself. I don't know if that sounds good for you guys. Okay, so pronouncing secondary articulations. So secondary articulations. I'm talking about palatalization and labialization. And in both Dawn and Dusk, we have palatalization, we have labialization, and we have the combination of the two. Two things that make that a little difficult for me pronouncing is that we can have sequences of let me switch to IPA. We can have consonant palatalized and E. We can have consonant labialized and E. Or we can have consonant palatalized. How do you even? There we go. That's labialization and palatalization together, combined with U. So I have to do with, let's say this is with the ch, with this. We got chu, 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 and chu, chu. And I kind of feel like, at the very least, maybe I should merge these two. Maybe I could just lose that. Maybe I could just lose that in the context of, before. Like before E and before E, these get like regularized so that these merge together, right? That seems to give me the most trouble. The other thing is I have a possibility of getting C. I really need to turn down my monitor. Testing. Okay. I need that. Testing. Okay. There we go. My problem is that, like, especially difficult with round vowels. Yeah, that's right. Why is that not updating here? Okay, I'm going to do this. That experiment is done because I cannot get it. It's not doing what I want. Hi, Tinguish. Well, yeah, that happens. It's a new year. Things are different. The other thing is I get this adjective with a secondary articulation. And I found that was difficult to make distinct. However, I looked it up and I couldn't find any evidence of adjectives blocking palatalization or labialization. So the very first word, this is something that popped up in the very first Lexember word. If I can bring that up. Me switch while I'm fiddling with this. Yeah, I don't want to. Hi. So let me bring up my words. I don't think this is going to reveal any information that you guys can't see. So I think I'm safe to just show this. Oh yeah, it is easier once the kids get back on the routines to know what day it is. Okay, Sylvan. Switch scene. Come on. So the very first word, chop or grind, I had this. Chui. Chui. Okay. Okay. Now that I do it now, I feel it's not that bad. I think maybe I was trying to chui. 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 Yeah, I think I can still deal with that. Just the combining the force of the ejective release and the secondary articulation felt like a problem when I was just doing these. Was there another example of that? There are a few words with adjectives that I had problems with. Also, adjectives in a non-stressed syllable is a little bit, but I can get it. Just need to chew upon the word. But this is also an example of the other thing is like why. I think this is an artifact of my sound changes that I probably should just fix is, why am I switching from this palatal consonant, chi, right? Go pull my tongue back to for the w, and then push my tongue back forward for the e, chui, or chui. It's really hard. I think it would be better if I just stipulated, sort of like Chinese does, where like after these consonants, it's always palatalized, right? And it would be chui, and chui. I think I could do that and not have too much disruption. Um, I don't want to make too many changes that affect my Lexember words because they're like established now. But I can make changes that will be plausible to say, okay, for Lexember, I was kind of talking about like one particular dialect for each of these, and it's not necessarily the only way of saying it, right? There are a lot of like fiddly distinctions, but I think it's okay. I was another distinction I was struggling with was we distinguish h versus h in this language, and that's a little difficult for me. I don't speak any language that distinguishes those two, and also I distinguish a palatalized h, h, with the sh. That's a little difficult for an English speaker, because for English speakers, actually, we do tend to turn like h into sort of a palatal fricative before a high vowel, and it's a little difficult. Like pronounce he, and pay attention to where your tongue is as you're saying that h. It's not a pure glottal. You've got it's not the sound that I have in Sylvan either. It's what we produce is, it's not this sound, it's that sound. Yeah, sha, the palatal fricative, he, right? But I think I can deal with it. I do sometimes realize this, like these palatals, these blade palatals, as like more of like a palatalized S. Like sometimes something like can you guys even see what I'm looking at? Sometimes for something like dashi, I might say, instead dashi, I might say more like dashi. But that's within the realm of possibility. That happens in Chinese a lot, actually. There's variation between it being like a xia and a xia. So, okay, I think with some practice, the issue is like, the issue I have is like, how can I make it doable for other people? Because I'm going to write down incantations. I'm going to have to be okay with people needing some practice, right? But still, I am finding that KhyisfafÀ generally, particularly the Dawn dialect, because the Dawn dialect has ejectives, it's got more front-rounded vowels. it's just overall more complicated. Um, it's um, it's a little bit of an issue. Yeah, it's a bit of an issue um to learn compared to Ndakaka. Ndakaka is not terribly difficult to pronounce. It's got a couple of things that don't happen in English in that it's got a stressed schwa, which is close enough. English speakers can get close enough. I mean, for American English speakers, that's not a huge issue because we kind of basically have a stressed schwa. The vowel that is translated, alliterated in IPA for English as, if I can remember how to type this, it's, yeah, this caret. Technically, this is supposed to be a back vowel. However, American English speakers centralize it so much that it's basically a schwa, and this can appear here in stress syllables. This is the vowel in mutt or cut, right? And I think British English speakers do actually have it further back. They'll say like cut, cut, cut. But in American English speakers, it's very central. Yeah, here and here and here and here is quite the contrast. But and then Ndakaga has the people have called them prenasalized vowels. It's really just a cluster nasal plus consonant that can occur at the beginning of a word. I think English speakers can do that. I think English speakers, even though it's not in English, I think English speakers can fairly easily learn to approximate that. So like the Ndakaga, the name of the language itself has it, which helps. This cluster here, I think for most English speakers, what they're going to do is they're going to be if they have trouble with it, and I feel I kind of do this as well. They're going to make this end syllabic and just have like a little tiny syllable there. Ndakaga, ndakaga. Whereas it's not supposed to be like that technically, but it's ndakaga. But it's it can also be centralized in British accents. I mean, I say American and British, but like that's very broad categories, and both of those are diverse. British accents are more diverse than American accents. Anyway, those are things that I may like go back into my sound changes to fix. I think I may fix this issue and just make it so in certain environments these merge, particularly if it's before the U, the high front vowel. Yeah, okay. I wanted to show you guys this. I don't know if you guys can see it that well. I have to look over here in order to see myself, but here is my mug that my mom got me for Christmas. And in case you can't read it well, it says, I may look like I'm listening, but in my head, I'm thinking about languages. I thought that was a fun gift. So I'm going to bring that out for the streams. to drink my tea out of. Switch that. So anyway, that's the phonological things that really were starting to throw me. There's other things like I had some trouble with. If I can find where the names are. The name of dawn. The name for dusk is not so hard. KhyisfafŒ. This is the sequence is a little difficult with this, going from Khyisfafő, Khyisfafő. But I might be able. I might try to smooth that out. I was struggling though to say picha, picha, picha Khyisfafő, picha Khyisfafő, Khyisfafő, picha, picha, picha Khyisfafő. See, it's a little bit difficult to get that one out. One thing I'm thinking about is keeping these names. Maybe I will apply rules to like harmonize the secondary articulations so that they're not quite as hard to handle. But I may also make shortened names. Like instead of adding piche plus ngufo plus Khyisfafő, I might have a version of this name that's piche plus Khyisfafő. So that would end up being like something like actually no, I already did that. Picha Khyisfafő. Picha Khyisfafő. So this is Ngufa. Oh, okay. I already did that, and it's still hard. So maybe I could shorten it even further in some way. I kind of interesting. So let's put that aside for a second. I don't think it's a huge deal. And now that I say it just like casually, part of my problem might have been just the pressure of trying to do the shorts and like trying real hard to pronounce things correctly may have like given me a complex about it. Now that I try to say it casually, Khyisfafő, it's not so hard. Khyisfafő. And okay, I definitely am going to do this. Harmonize the secondary articulation to the frontness of the vowel, because first of all, that's kind of where it came from. Secondly, I kind of just already automatically do that. When it's not rounded vowel, I can do tree, right? Probably want to do it consistently. Khyisfafő. Yeah. Anyway, it's it's something that I need to work out and sort out. But I don't really think I'm going to spend too much time on that today. Maybe behind the scenes, I'll go and fix my sound changes and go through the words and fix them to do that harmonization. But the other thing that really popped out to me is I created, if I created how to say Happy New Year in both of these languages. And you will note these phrases were not said in the last video. So if I were to quickly gloss these, it's optative, do, and optative, do. I better do the breakdown here. Second person, Irrealis. So, may you do something, right? What are we saying? May you do? And then it's be careful. Second person through turn of year. Okay. And this is exactly parallel in Dawn here. If we do this, I'm not going to note the class here, but this is but anyway, I saw this, and then I saw a K. Klein video about the definite article. And I'm like, oh, I forgot to deal with definite articles. And I looked at it, and I'm like, oh, I also forgot to decline Khyisfafmě and Khyisfafmě in the accusative. So I'm like, so I actually did say these on recording, and then I cut them out of the recording because I realized I didn't have the time and I didn't have the infrastructure to do this translation correctly. So we're a half hour in. Something we're going to do with today is we are going to work on articles. I'm going to talk through what happens to articles in both of these dialects. And then I also want to talk about the domain of consonant mutations. Because, so we have these consonant mutations that happen. We see it here. We get an H insertion when you have a previous... I'm not sure exactly what the conditions are here. Is it because it's ending in a vowel, or it historically had an H or something? But something is causing this H to be inserted, right? We also have We have a nasal mutation that already was seen in my phrase for in my phrase the greeting phrase, which does not need to change because it's all verb. It's all verb. This is the nasal mutation. I think obsidian. I think this word is buchi. Hey, what happened here? Dusk. Okay, I'm screwed something up. I'm gonna fix something in obsidian quickly. This is agiv, not a W. Okay. So let's go Dawn and Pucci, right? Pucci, to bind, right? And what is the first person Pucci? Except, let's see, how was that constructed? I think it's Pucci. Pucci. Oh, Pucci. Okay, I messed up. Pucci, right? Pucci. Yeah. So, but it's Buccifu, Buccifu, right? Instead of Puccifu, because this, it's actually, you can see there's no voicing happening in Dusk, right? It becomes Kuchifu because this ba underlyingly, this is the native particle, underlyingly has an N, or historically it had an N. So it triggers the nasal mutation, which voices an unvoiced, a plain consonant. So that has already been established here. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with, of course, I'm happy with the compounds having the mutations happen, because that's definitely going to be within the domain. I'm happy with the negative particle, ba, triggering nasal mutation on a following verb. This gives us a quite a clear distinction between dawn and dusk, right? But as you get out there, we'll need to figure out. So when you have a change like this that happens across words, there's always a situation of like, what is the domain of this change, right? Let me grab my of Sunday rules, which constant mutations are a kind of Sunday rule, right? First of all, in purely phonological terms, we have sort of a hierarchy of different things. The example that I always want to go with is third tone Sunday in Chinese. So there's a famous example people use. It's my hao jiu. What? Why are you not? What? That has nothing to do. Okay. Let me find my ID. Does the input does not want to give me the thing that I'm looking for. It's so weird. Okay. My how Joe my is this my how Joe. That's right. Okay. All of these underlyingly are third tone. Let's see if I can figure out how to should be. Am I not in the right? My how Joe. Right? Now there's a rule where if you have a third tone followed by another third tone, that the first one will turn into a second tone, right? This has two different resolutions in this case, right? You can have my how Joe, or you can have my how Joe. Now, what is happening here? These actually have two different meanings, or at least there's two different interpretations that are associated here. This one, the first one, the usual interpretation was completed buying. I should just gloss this straight up. So this is buy good. We'll say wine. This is people usually gloss this as wine. It's just any alcoholic beverage, but this is completed buying wine, and this one is bought good wine. In practice, I think actually this one has both interpretations, and this one just has the bought good wine interpretation. And the difference is that these are bracketed differently. So in this one, you've bracketed these two together before you get this one. It's my hao is a unit. So we get my hao jiu and then my hao jiu, right? So it's applying to this smaller unit before it applies to the bigger unit. Whereas this one, it's you apply it to the smaller unit of haojiu, good wine, and then you don't need to do the tone sundi on this one, so it remains third tone. My haojiu, my haojiu. So the thing is, this has a certain initial domain. And in this case, the rule is cyclic, so it starts applying further and further out, right? What we're dealing with consonant mutations is a little bit different because an initial step is not going to affect the environment of the outer step. However, we still need to say, okay, there's also points where there can be a limit. And I don't have a good example offhand, but like you can have situations where like where a certain change is blocked as you get into more complex structures, right? For this one, I'm thinking probably, I don't know how to do this without introducing a whole bunch of terminology, but I think something like a phonological phrase, which is different from a syntactic phrase, but it follows from syntax. Um, so I'm thinking what will happen is like within a noun phrase, right? Um, we'll have like, which will include like the determiner, noun, any adjectives, right? And then we can futz a little with stuff, but like outside of the noun phrase, it's not applying. Within the verbs, we have the auxiliary negative, and then the and then the verb, right? I think within that complex it applies. I don't think so. Like in syntax, these things are nested together so that the object is within the verb phrase. I don't think that's going to be a thing here, especially since we have a VSO language. Because what happens with phonological domains is you have the syntax, and reading through the syntax, like it chunks out the syntax into smaller bits, but those bits are not necessarily like full constituents. It's sort of following some phrasing, but it's not the same. It's not exactly the same hierarchy as a syntax. So that's what I'm thinking, is that like within noun phrases, we're going to have this apply. Within this particular verb complex, it's going to apply. The other thing I will have to think about is I know that I have read that in Celtic languages the initial mutations have grammaticalized, so that even if the trigger is not actually adjacent to the word you're looking at, it still is triggering a mutation. So that's something we might want to think about. And this is something I need to know about when we go into articles, because articles, let's go to articles. Let's finally get to articles. The very first thing we want to say is like, articles will definitely trigger mutations. And they're going to trigger a mutation on the noun because the way that our structure is set up, adjectives follow the noun, they modify it. An article is always going to end up right before a noun, unless I like figure out unless I have some way to postpose it. So we need to go look at our articles. So we got our articles, right? And this is these are outdated, right? So we're gonna have to. I'm gonna have to go to. I have the lovely. That's not our. Okay, sha sa shapkudu the shapkudu. So this should be shap. Why is it? This is not right. Shap shap shapku is what it is. Shapku. So we're going to go, and I'm actually going to grab the middle Fey forms. Right. Well, that's nice. I do feel that it was interesting to do that and do Dawn and Dusk side by side, because you got to see how they are similar but also different, right? Sometimes the words were almost the same, it was just like tones flipped. Sometimes they ended up pretty different. Oh, thank you. The camera that I'm using, I mean this sort of setup is what I'm doing. Miles, you want to know what camera I'm using? I'm using my phone. My phone is behind a teleprompter, and it's just that's I'm using Droid Cam to feed it to the computer because I don't have a way to like plug it into my computer. My charging port is borked. So um that's a thing. But anyway, so I'm going to go. I need to figure out. Another thing is, I need to figure out how to like notate on all of my words the things. But let's try to find something that's gonna have. We're gonna start with a noun that. Okay, I can't do a loan word. We'll have to figure those out separately. I can't have. Oh, yeah. Phones have really good cameras. The only thing is, I really wish it were like something that's dedicated to um to the computer that I can just leave there. Um, because like sometimes the kids want the phone. Uh, let's see if we go. Okay, so this is not necessarily ideal for a Dawn example. So Yeah, so kuch, and then kuch, and then let's go. And if we go here, so this is an interesting artifact of my sound changes that I'm kind of going to leave, is that the lenited, the lenitian form here for puchi, for puchi is huichi. But that makes it more obvious. That's nice. Sakuch, sakuch, shakuch, sapu, shapu. I want to know why. I'm just going to check here. Why does this not delete? So unstressed deletion does apply here. Oh, it applies to the second one, but it doesn't apply to only. I'm just going to double check that this is operating as it should. Unstressed deletion. So not stressed, not long. A vowel that's not stressed and not long. It goes to 0, beginning of a word. And then it becomes after a consonant, but not before a consonant. So is this getting stress, or is it not being recognized as a vowel? I have this in my list of vowels. So and it's not stressed. Vowel plus stress plus long. If there's okay. I see what's happening here. So if I swap that for what? What happened here? Why is my backspace button not working? If I swap this for plus syllabic, Khyisfafန့. So that I like better. And has that resulted in any funny business for Dusk where I don't think so. Yeah, because that's stressed. Yeah. That's not correct. KhyisfafŒ. Yeah, I think I'm going to keep that. Shock. And then I'm going to make sure that I save that. This is Dusk, so we want to rename it as well, this is one reason that this might end up becoming like grammaticalized, as I was talking to about it happening in Celtic languages, is we can end up with this situation where, oh, we have the lenition, but there's no vowel here. It's just the what is this form? Um the the um and this should be nominative and accusative, right? Right? Or how is this defined actually? So, yeah, this is the nominative form. The locative became the accusative. It's just the nominative plural triggers. In fact, we might want to have right. We might want to come up with some way. I think probably like an asterisk. Right? Something like that. Because we have to notate it two different ways, right? And then we have to deal with like idiosyncratic stuff, like the fact that in Dawn, the lenition mutation for this word is quite weird, because so you would expect it to go from Pucci to fuchi, right? Based on the huchi, right? Puchi to fuchi rather than puchi to huchi. But this is because this was initially a k sound, right? This was initially a labialized K, and it went in two different directions. This happened before the k sound became a p. So that's why the lenition is the way it is. So I'm pretty solid. We may refine like what the domains are later and actually bring in a little bit of theory talk about the domains of Sunday processes and what defines a phonological phrase, phonological word, phonological phrase, stuff like the composite group that I'm not really sure I believe in. But yeah, so we have this. We're going to have to go to that's the dusk. I want the dawn version. We also need to notate that here. The same things will happen, right? Now with dawn has two mutations. Dusk only has one. Now, so I think we're solid to like start expanding from there. The other thing that I would want to keep in mind is like with the verb complex in dawn, we have did I actually make an entry for ba? I'm very bad about that. So did I have a not? I don't think I have it. So it's and of course I already deleted that. So ban that goes right in, and then we have ban becomes ba, and here it becomes ba, and then the difference comes in. We grab a random verb. Oh, that has different meanings. Right. Banta, right? Banta, right? And just for good measure, right? Ta, right? Right. So we see that this changes that in Dusk, nothing happens because Dusk doesn't have this mutation. But in Dawn, we have the nasal mutation. So let's document this word so that I don't completely lose it. I'm very bad about not documenting functional words. It's just a... And I don't know what it meant in Middle Sylvan. Ban. Actually, I don't know what it meant in Middle Sylvan either. Ban, and then we'll just go, and then Dawn. And in Dawn, it is Ba. Get the pronunciation guide in there. And then go ahead and document this for Dusk as well. And Dusk, let's actually go to the export so that we can make sure that we get everything correctly. Riveting, I know. I don't know how many people care about me futzing around with this stuff. Not. And get the correct pronunciation. Ba is... I don't know if this needs to be toned. But the thing is, the difference between Dawn and Dusk here, I think actually I will put this in the pronunciation guide, is this... Okay. And I'm going to have to go through and figure out all that. Okay. Now, let's get to something more exciting. So, we're talking about articles. what do articles do? Because for Inductica, you guys might have clocked that I didn't think through how to use my one article in Inductica. Inductica has a definite article, but I ended up sort of haphazardly applying it and then having to like reverse engineer what my rules were based on examples that I already gave. And that is not ideal. So I want to think about, so at base, we actually have both definite and indefinite articles. Now, we know what the basic idea of, wow, that's weird. Definite applies to known, like known / specific nouns, right? Indefinite introduces new information, right? If we go back here to the Sylvan notes, and also our indefinite has singular and plural forms. Okay. So it's a bit like why did I have retroflexes appearing in some forms and not in others in Dusk? I think that's wrong. I think we'll figure out what happened there in a little bit. Now our sources, Sylvan definites. We want to ask ourselves, what does it apply to? So like, does it apply to names? Some languages does. English, it can't apply to any proper names, really. Unless there are some proper names of like places and organizations that can have a definite article. People, it doesn't do. Other languages like Spanish, you can have a definite with a personal name if there's a title. Right? You have examples. La profesora Dinkle. That's a random name that came up. Right? La maestra Camacho. Okay? Right? That kind of thing can happen in Spanish. Co-occurs with possessive. I don't see how it couldn't because of the way our possessives are structured. Our possessives don't really take our possessives really are not taking up a determiner slot at all. Co-occurs with a demonstrative. This happens in some languages. I'm going to say no because our definite article itself comes from a demonstrative. So it's going to take up the same slot. Hi, Madam Knees. How are you doing? Good morning from me. So, any animacy restrictions? No. And the reason I'm going to straight up say no to that is, well, so I could do it. However, it's not about anything about the definite form, but the indefinite inflects for class. It agrees with the class of the noun. So if I can tag a noun with any sort of animacy with an indefinite, I don't see why I would restrict the definite, even though the definites do not inflect for class. I probably want it to still getting used to it being 2026. I'm sure a lot of us are. I'm very happy that I am not making a short every day anymore. I'm happy with doing the shorts as an annual thing for Lexember, but I'm not going to do it every day and become a shorts creator because I don't have the time. I don't know if that's a good thing for like channel growth to like abruptly stop doing shorts like that, but I tried to do a short every week for a while, but like you have to keep your cadence up more for that. Please ignore these forms. These forms are not right. I'm going to have to probably before next week, I'm going to have to actually start up separate documents for Dawn and Dusk and actually get that all worked out. And actually like properly document their forms, because like we have some scratch forms we did earlier that I've like things have changed quite a lot. NMC restrictions, no. Anything else you guys can think of? This is like why I kind of avoid doing articles usually is like there are so many hidden rules to how articles apply. And if you see non-native speakers, particularly if they come from a language that doesn't have articles, but even a language that does have them, their number one thing that you see is they use articles incorrectly, or maybe not necessarily in an ungrammatical way, but in a way that to you as a native English speaker, if you're a native English speaker, you will find odd. And I see this with my wife's stuff all the time. And it's gotten to the point where I have trouble actually pointing it out to her, because I have not abstracted out and intellectualized all of the many rules that come with English articles. Oh yeah, I've actually talked to Madeline and Miles and Jake and them. I actually did in our private Discord. I just said like let's work it out in October. Welsh is very interesting with how it uses the definite article. Madam Knees, if you're gonna throw out another way I can do a callback to Celtic languages, you're gonna have to give me more detail. Um, that is going to be very interesting. Let's take a look at Welsh definite article. I don't know if I like now I've established some things. Okay, Welsh doesn't have an indefinite. We've already established we do have an indefinite. So that's not okay. There are 3 forms of the definite article. Okay. We're having a class agreement after E. Singular feminine nouns will undergo a soft mutation after what? Okay. Okay. So there are different phonological forms. That's the only thing that I'm seeing here. Okay, so this is like an A-N distinction. Not sure if that works. Is there anything else about it? Hmm. The end of the road. Oh, okay. Okay, so your syntax. It's used in generative constructions. Okay, then if that's the case, now my possessives are very different from a Celtic what a Celtic generative construction would be. Um, so but I will say, yeah, okay, we'll make it happen with the possessive. Maybe this will change some phrases that I did for Lexember, but I think it's worth it to maybe even make this mandatory. Maybe. A question, because I was thinking about this. So, do you ever get a definite article with proper names at all? Um, in Welsh and Irish. By the way, hi Tabby, because that would be. So I was thinking about like in in English we do not ever use it for personal names, right? In Spanish, you can sometimes use it with a title, like a profesora, uh, thinking of a Hernandez, right? Should be accented. Professor Hernandez, right? You need to have you put that in there in some syntactic positions. I think it's not. If it's evocative, it won't do it. You don't do it. But if it's like referring to the person, you do it. So we could have something like that happen, but I want to know if that's a thing. We could also have the question of yeah. So in English, the can be just part of a place name, right? I believe in like French, it's like almost always the definite article is part of a place name, right? Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, that's interesting. So I'm just going to copy your examples here. That's something I heard. I don't speak French, so I don't know if maybe I'm wrong about that. I just know like I have heard that they do it at least more often than in English. Like France itself is like Le France, right? Am I wrong? Yeah, okay. So maybe I'm wrong about that. Um yeah. It is more different. It is more common than in English, but it's not universal. Okay. The question is like we could use that Cairo le Caire le Caire. I don't know how le it would be le Caire. Um um let me put that example in. Le France le Caire. Um Trying to think. Spanish doesn't really do it more frequently than English. I think Spanish is like about the same. Like certain names, like Los Estados Unidos, just like in English. Um, Los Estados Unidos Americanos, Los Estados Unidos Mexicanos, those kinds of complex names you get. However, stuff like Francia, España, Inglaterra. Those don't take it. And even like, okay, Mexico has the long name Los Estados Unidos Mexicanos, but Mexico is just Mexico. No, there's no article, right? Oh, La France is La France. Okay, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the gender of France. So La France, La France, and Leclerc. Trying to think. Obviously, Chinese just doesn't have articles at all. Although there are things that function like, so there's nothing that functions directly like a definite article. Um you can use a demonstrative construction, but I couldn't really call it an article. However, the numeral classifiers, just a bare classifier, by itself can kind of work as an article. And I think it's sort of derived from a construction like a egurgen, egurgen. That's one classifier human, right? Egurgen. just got shortened to Guzhen. You drop the numeral there, you go Guzhen. And then you can use that. That's not a good example because Guzhen is also a compound word, but something like Yipima, and then Pima. Yeah, something like that. The height. Your widfa. Your widfa. I don't know how to pronounce. That kind of name. I think that kind of name just universally is more likely to get some kind of a definite article because of just like how that semantically is constructed, right? It is the highest thing, right? Whereas something like La France, I think that feels much more like language specific. Are Urwizva, Urwizva, what? Okay. So the vowel is the W, is what that is. So Urwizva. That's probably not super great, but doing the best I can. Urwizva. Yeah. Celtic languages have all sorts of very unique orthographies that are wonderful for those languages, but I am not going to take inspiration for any of them in Romanizing this language. I'm not going to do any funny business with like stuff like the marking what's lenited from what and all of that stuff because I don't think it's as useful for a conlang. Yeah. Head of the great height. Wow. Yeah. So, okay, if that so if I'm looking at that, so the way that I see okay, the genitive, I think so. Okay. So when you said earlier it's used in genitive constructions, it looks like you're saying like the genitive itself, like the possessor or the thing is what takes the article. This is not compatible with Sylvan because we have the possessive classifiers. I mean, we can do it. Um, it might be that it would happen that way, but okay. So actually, okay. So let's modify this. How does this work in the possessive construction? So I'm going to say, okay, possessed, yes. The possessor, because the thing is, like, what our construction is we have the possessed, then a classifier, and then a possessor. That classifier does not have to take up a determiner slot. In fact, it probably doesn't. but it's a little it becomes kind of a mouthful to have the classifier, then a determiner, and then the possessor. Probably is okay to do. Maybe it's sort of a case by case basis. Yeah, I think maybe just the possessed noun can have an article, and then the possessor, because the possessor is probably going to be definite anyway. Um, I'm gonna go no question mark. Yeah, because I think the possessor is going to be sort of assumed to be definite anyway in most cases. Otherwise, why are you defining this in terms of who owns it, right? Um, I may have to think about how this works in other contexts to see like how. Yeah, yeah. I think you're right though. I think only giving the article to one, and if I'm going to give one an article, it's probably going to be to possessed now. Um, so um, it cannot co-occur with a demonstrative. Um, with numerals, I think actually yes. However, we're kind of doing a sort of a scratch pad thing here. Sylvan indefinites. And then we're going to say let's, a lot of these things, I'm going to actually flip that because our indefinite is derived from a numeral. It's derived from the word for one, as is commonplace. It doesn't have a verb for have. Yeah, that's a different subject. I have not figured out. I have not. I don't know if I've figured out predicative possession yet. Um, I already did that kind of predicative possession in Ndakaga. Um, you say something to me, right? It's um you want to say my lair. um no, if you want to say, I think the example I had was the old dragon's lair, and it's the lair to the old dragon, right? um so I used a postposition for that. I could do it again though. There's no reason I have to go with a habeo verb now. So I'd have to think. I'm gonna have to think about that. Um, so Sylvan indefinites co-occurs with a demonstrative, co-occurs with numerals. No. Anonymity restrictions again. No. because definitely no animacy restrictions because it inflects for class, and one of my classes is inanimate, so that's silly. Oh, another thing I discovered, I was using inanimate in two different places as a term. I was using it as a class, and then I was using it to talk about one of the historical derivations for the accusative. And for now, I have changed that other use so that with the accusative, it's not animate versus inanimate derivation. It's the agentive versus non-agentive derivation. I don't know if I'm going to go with that or if I'm going to go change like the class label to non-living. That might be better. I'm going to have to think about it. I think we did pretty solid. I think what I need to do, and I don't think we have a whole lot of time to do this, is work through some examples. I want to see, let's see. I probably want to actually do a little bit of research between now and the next one too. Let's see. Okay. So this is something I can read between now and then. This is very... What the heck is going on with this? Oh, this is part of a book. Okay. On the so-called definite article in English. What is this? That's weird. I'm going to download this. Articles in the world's languages. Maybe... This is a book? Yeah, the thing is, that's a closed thing. So I don't know if I can get that. That may be something, because I'm not affiliated with any institution. Okay. You have a copy? A GitHub link? What? I think these are some good notes to start with. Okay. Can I Okay, can I just download certain parts? Okay, I can only download like the table of contents and stuff. That's not useful to me. Oh, hi, Alex. Thank you. Um, the YouTube Conlang Relay. I have some plans for the next one. Well, so that's that's nice. I the thing is, given the way that a relay works, and especially something intensive like this, it's kind of something that is better handled by invite only. So I don't really like accept like random people coming up to me so much. If I know somebody and I know that you have a YouTube channel that has conlang content, then I consider it. Um, but I would have to like look at your channel and see what you do and like know more about like what you what you could do. So because I kind of and I kind of want to. In fact, I've been a little bit too open in the past, and I want to kind of make sure that I know. I kind of want to make sure that I get people who can get the video out on time and everything. So I will I will keep it in mind, but I have limited slots, and I have like people who I know who I tend to invite to things like this. Or places that I go to look for participants too. So, but I appreciate the enthusiasm. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into this one, but yeah. So I'm gonna save this. Yeah, that's fine. I will take a look at that. But right now, it'll be a while before I go and start looking for people for that. And like I need to know. I need to think of like how many slots I have for people and stuff. Yeah. I think actually that's a good point because I have gotten a couple people just sort of randomly contacting me about this. And Alex, that this might be something you could do is like maybe I don't know if I want to run it. If somebody wants to volunteer to run it, I can definitely make a channel for relays and we can do a more like a more standard relay, not so more informal. Nobody has to make a video if they don't want, and we just like do it on the Discord and have it, and then you guys can meet up on voice chat and talk about it, right? That's the usual way relays go, and it might be actually a better idea for your first relay than doing YouTube Conlang Relay, which you have to make a video for and all of that stuff, right? I think Scratchpad one. How do I want to do this? 2026 1 3. Yeah. Yeah, Madame Knees, a 4-year-old. I think it's obviously the age is relevant. Um I'm gonna also put an asterisk here. And I'm gonna go ahead and stick this on the Patreon so that people can we don't want to link attachment. That's fine. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So whoever wants to start a conversation about that on the Discord, if anyone wants to um if anyone wants to volunteer to be a relay master and do relays on the Discord, that's fine with me. Maybe I'll participate. Maybe if I have time for that. But the YouTube Conlang relay is going to be different, and I will be arranging who's going to be in that around May. But that is all the time we have for today, folks. Thank you all for coming. Next week, I think next week what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a document that for Dawn and a document for Dusk. And I'm going to start transferring over notes and looking around and seeing like what are gaps, what things they share, what things are different, and look for like gaps that I need to fill, and possibly get like working on different things. But I think we really need to like get a place where I can look at these two side by side and have them in separate documents so that I can like actually like look at the differences and also like have separate documentation for each one. So that is good. With all of that said, thank you all for watching. Keep working on your own languages and happy conlanging.